Hi and welcome to an INFJ's take on an INFP. Because of the FI dominant function, an INFP can experience a person's FE function as quite trite or shallow. I think one of the reasons for that is the INFP's FI function. There's a sense that they feel very strongly about something, and they experience the FE in others as potentially almost disrespectful in some respects. And maybe a way of trying to explain that is someone might be sharing a very difficult journey filled with grief and sadness, and the INFP will be listening to that with a whole range of feeling going on the inside, feeling it very intricately. I think an INFJ would be doing similarly, but there will be more showing on the face. They might be showing a sense of sadness or a sense of grief for the person who's sharing their story. And an INFP has a vulnerability of actually seeing that as being superficial. And it's just different. It's a misunderstanding. Ironically, others can experience an INFP's FI function almost the exact same way. They can feel that their lack of extroverted feeling is a sign of being uninterested or aloof or rude in some respects. And again, it's just a total misunderstanding. The INFP is experiencing what's being shared very deeply, and they're very respectful of what's being shared, and to show some kind of physical representation of what they're hearing, they could actually sense that would be disrespectful and harmful to the person sharing it. So it's interesting that both experience the FE and the FI. They're both completely different, but they can be judged ultimately the exact same way. I think the sensing types would be more vulnerable to that judgment in some respects than someone with an NI dominant function, because with the NI they'll be able to intuitively pick up the feeling in the INFP, whereas more sensing types wouldn't, are relying on external behaviour for them to be able to gather what's happening. So yeah, it's probably a vulnerability that sensors have to judging the FI function as lacking feeling, whereas the opposite is true. Another relational dynamic that can take place between an INFP and an INFJ is where an INFJ almost feels snubbed by an INFP. And what I mean by that is an INFP might be sharing something which sort of triggers an insight in the INFJ, and then the INFJ sort of shares their insight using their extroverted feeling, and then the INFP can almost totally ignore what's just been said and continue talking. I think what's happening with that is it's not necessarily like a conscious. I don't think they're consciously ignoring it. I mean, they might be consciously ignoring it, but not for the reasons that I think we think they are. I think one of the things that happens with that is our insight, while it might be interesting to us, it might not be interesting to them, or it might not touch on their values system or their belief system, whether it be a general thing or maybe something that touches on more of the broader structure of the internal structure of an INFP. And I kind of the picture I have of it is like the INFJ has an insight into what the INFP is sharing, and shares that insight, and it's kind of like throwing a tennis ball into a whole heap of scaffolding, the scaffolding around buildings, and the ball just sailing all the way through it and not touching anything. And so the INFP either just sees it as not important or totally misses it because it doesn't touch any of their value system or structure on the inside. That's more of a sense that I have, so maybe INFPs can respond to that, whether that's true for them or not. But I think it's a helpful way for an INFJ to look at it, because of the FI-FE thing. The INFJ could experience that seemingly could experience the INFP's lack of response to what's being said quite harshly because of their FE function. But I just think it really just doesn't touch anything important on the inside of the INFP, and so they just keep moving forward, they keep moving on. And I think that can be a helpful thing to be aware of in conversations between an INFJ and an INFP. I think one of the interesting dynamics that can exist between an INFP and an INFJ is that the INFJ can almost become sort of the extrovert in the connection, in the friendship, in the relationship. And I think the main reason for that is because of the INFJ's FE function, and because the INFP's functional stack is a little bit more conservative externally than the INFJ. I think this gives the INFJ quite an interesting opportunity to reflect on how they're perceived from even more extroverted types. Because I think INFJs can sometimes feel a little bit frustrated with the INFP because they can sense the depth of the INFP, but the lack of expression, I guess, of that depth because of their FI function. They just don't display as much emotion as the INFJ does. So I think it gives the INFJ a unique perspective that the frustration that they feel or can feel with the INFP is what more extroverted personality types can feel towards the INFJ. But I think the more extroverted types will probably feel more frustrated. So I think it gives an INFJ an opportunity to understand and even sympathise with the more extroverted people that they have to deal with. So I wonder if other INFJs that are watching this connect with that they become the extrovert in the friendship or in the dynamic because of their FE function. So I hope you find the video helpful. I'll be interested in your comments. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing an INFJ's take on all of the different personality types. So yeah, feel free to subscribe, and thanks very much.